on data analytics. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Right, let's get going. The webinar is on how to learn to CAAT to provide better assurance with greater assurance by harnessing the power of technology. And we are going to show how this can be done by using data analytics software, eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro. This is a brief introduction of myself. I am CA Abdul Rafiq. I passed my CA final in 1985 and the CISA exam in 1995. And I have special expertise in information technology and data analytics. And I've been working as the managing director of Windsor Infotech Limited since more than a decade. These are the 4 learning objectives. The primary theme of this webinar is how to harness the power of technology for assurance. First, we'll understand why data analytics software is required to be used by auditors of this digital era. Second, we'll look at what are the 7 steps for using data analytics. Third, we'll look at what are the key functions of data analytics software, which are available, let us say, in MS Excel or any data analytics software. And then we'll have the demo of new functions and enhancements of data analytics software, which is eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro. Now I'm going to spend probably 45 minutes totally. In this, probably 15 minutes I'll spend on the first 3 aspects, and I would like to spend the maximum time on demo and explanation of the new functions. This is the vision of a company. We aspire to be a global leading solution provider in data analytics for empowering professionals to realize the potential by applying thought to technology. This is our strategy. We believe in developing innovative software solutions, and primarily our focus is on CEOs and CXOs. Our approach is you should be able to deploy systems and solutions for scaling up services, for empowering you to serve your clients in a shorter time with greater value addition and higher use of technology. So our solutions are all made with the focus of the new digital age auditor. And you can definitely be assured that we will help to future-proof your career and accelerate growth of your career, whether you are in employment or you are in practice. Our resolve for our clients for 2021 and beyond is we want to make insightful analytics simple. Let's come to the learning objectives. Why we need to use data analytics software? Why data analytics software? This is a research which has shown that data analytics is a must-have capability for the audit function and is widely expected to become a big part of its future. What is data analytics all about? It's about taking raw data and converting into insights using various tools and techniques. If you look at the specific definition, data analytics is defined as the science of examining raw data with the purpose of drawing conclusions about that information. We will see how this can be done using our data analytics software. Why do we need to use data analytics? We know that most of the data is digitized. With the data analytics software available, we can now analyze large volumes of data, not only data, fast-moving data, dynamic data from diverse data sources so that we can gain insights. And this was not possible before. Let's look at the perspective of audit. Quite often, the old paradigm of auditor has been the auditee or auditor is a fault finder. And the auditee always used to say, what is the value addition? The new paradigm is the advantages by using the new paradigm of data analytics is that we can maximize the effectiveness of our audit. We can reduce the amount of time dedicated to manual analysis, and this allows for more time and more informative insights. We also can identify relationships and inconsistencies, thus enhancing the auditor judgment. And the beauty is we can do 100% audit of the data. Let's move on. It is said data is the new oil, but analytics is the engine which uses this oil to empower enterprises and professionals. And data analytics definitely would be useful to harness the power of data. So what can you do with data analytics or business intelligence software? You can establish facts. You can explore hunches. Let's say you have a hunch that this particular exception is there. You can explore that hunch. You may have data of thousands of elements or millions of data bits. You can analyze the data and explore whether your hunch is correct or incorrect. You can draw inferences from the data. You can confirm hindsight based on what's happened in the past. And you can also obtain insights and you can validate the foresights about the future. This is a recent publication of the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, which says, how can we explore the growing use of technology in the audit with a focus on data analytics? And this is what the research says, that you can use data analytics in all areas of audit, whether risk assessment, analytical procedures, substantive procedures, and test of controls. I suggest that you download this publication and refer it because this will be very useful. Now, what do you see here? Let's see the vision. Now, if you see here, what is important when you're using data analytics is to see the big picture. Why? A big picture always helps in understanding the organization better. While doing data analytics, we are not only looking at bits and pieces of data, but we are looking at data in totality. Now, this gave you a background of why data analytics is required. Now, let's look at what are the 7 steps for using data analytics. First, like in any assurance assignment or audit assignment or compliance assignment, we need to identify what are the objectives and the deliverables of the assignment. Next, in a manual environment, we used to ask for the books and records. Instead of this, in the case of a data analytics environment, in a digitized environment, we ask for what is the type of data available, what is the platform in which the data is available. For example, if the client is using Tally, then you ask him, okay, can we access the Tally data? If the client is using ERP software, then we understand for the purpose of audit, what are the data which we can extract directly from the ERP software, either by exporting the data or by directly getting access to the source tables or the source data. We understand the business process systems, the business process rules. We document what are the controls and the criteria and the audit test we want to perform, and we apply the tools and techniques as relevant by using the data analytics software. And based on this, we are able to draw the inference and insights, and we prepare the outputs or the deliverables and the reports. So if you look at the distinction between auditing a manual environment and auditing data analytics, the primary differentiator is that in the case of a manual environment, we were accessing the manual data which was available in records and registers and books, whereas in the case of data analytics, we are looking at what is the data which is available, how we can access the data, what are the sources from which we can get the data, what are the elements of data which is required for the audit, and based on the criteria which is required, we use the data analytics tools and techniques to audit the data. Now, understanding the business process and systems and the controls and the criteria, all these are relevant in a manual environment. The only difference is in the case of manual environment, we will be adopting the manual approach, whereas in the case of data analytics software, we are directly using the software to analyze this digital data and draw the inference and come to the conclusions. Now let's take an example of a financial statement audit. Now, what are the criteria which we need to evaluate? One, we could be looking at completeness, whether the data which has been provided, is it complete? Next, we could be looking at accuracy of the data, or all the transactions processed accurately and as intended. We are looking at the validity of the data, whether only valid transactions have been processed, and the authorization, only the appropriately authorized transactions have been processed. We look at segregation of duties, we look at compliances and the cutoff period. So these are the controls which are embedded inside information technology. For example, let's take a case of Tally. If the client using Tally and he is using all the compliances, let's say GST, TDS, and various other compliances, the controls are based on how the parameters have been done, how the parameters have been set. Now we can audit this data directly by evaluating how the controls have been set, getting a copy of the data, and then analyzing it using the data analytics software. Now there's a paradigm shift in data analytics. This is what it says. If you look at the traditional approach, the focus was more on the field work. It was sample based. It was based on what happened in the past, which is the hindsight. We are searching for certain elements of data. For example, what are the data which is more than 20,000? we looked at what could go wrong, and it was a risk and control oriented. And the focus was on control and design. Whereas it's a new analytics driven approach, the focus on issues that matter. Can you identify what are the pain points and how can we audit these areas using the data analytics? There is a broader coverage because we can audit 100% of the data. We can look at not only hindsight, but we can also get insights and foresight. For example, based on the past data, can we project what is going to happen in the future? We can do researching much better. We can also look at what should go right for the business to be successful. We can also look at risk, and we can handle more complex and bigger volume of data. And the focus on actual execution and the reality of the data. How can data analytics help auditors? This gives you a broad perspective. It enables the auditor to ask the right questions to the digital data. In a manual environment, we're asking the auditee the questions. In this case, we formulate the questions and interrogate the data so that we can get the answers. So this is possible by embedding the analytics into the culture of the internal audit function and aligning the analytics into the planning process of the audit so that we can get an overall perspective while doing the audit. Now let's look at the third part. Now we looked at what are the 7 steps for using the data analytics. Let's look at what are the key functions of data analytics software. Now, if you look at a software like MS Excel, this is definitely an excellent tool. But you need to remember that Excel was not designed from the auditor's perspective. Excel was designed for processing of financial information or any information which requires computation. So we have very useful functions which could be used for data analytics in MS Excel, like count, if, compare, computations, consolidation, duplicate, extract, lookup, sampling. Like that, there are more than 20 plus functions which are very useful for the auditors. But when you use data analytics software, you'll find you can do all these functions which are done in Excel in a much more simpler and in a much more faster way. Not only that, you can do probably 10 times more than what you can do in Excel. Now, is it an exaggeration? Most of the auditors are quite comfortable using Excel. But once you know how to use data analytics software and you start using some of the functions of data analytics software, you find you will not like to go back to Excel. But you'll use Excel only when it's required. But for all the core functions of analysis, you'll use data analytics software. Now let's make a comparison. We have looked at Excel. Let's look at the key functions in a data analytics software. For example, let's say I want to perform aging analysis. I've got an inventory. I want to perform aging analysis. Now in Excel also I can perform this aging, but this will require multiple steps and I have to spend a lot of time in doing the analysis, performing the computations, multiple steps. Whereas in a data analytics software, there is a function called aging. I'll show you a demo a little later. I can just click the function, select the field, automatically I'll get the results. Similarly, I want to append files. Now let's say I've got payroll files of 12 months. I want to append these 12 files and then do the consolidation. Now in the case of Excel, I may have to copy and paste this data from the 12 files into one single file. Whereas in the data analytics software, there is a function called append. I just select the files which I want to append. Automatically, this will be added. Not only that, it will add a first column, but it will also add the worksheet name. So at one glance, you'll be able to do the append the data. You can also find attributes of the data. For example, there's a function called column statistics. Using this, you can get hundreds of statistics of the data in a few clicks. You can perform authentication, authorization. Like that, there are more than 30 functions which I've shown you, which can be performed in data analytics software. Now, what are the top 20 data analytics software features? I have given the list here. I'll also give you a demo of some of these functions. Now let's go to the demo, which is the main part we just said. If you remember, I said at the beginning, I do not want to spend too much time on theory. I just want to give an overview of what data analytics is all about. And then I want to show you actually the power of the data analytics software. And this is possible only when you actually perform the functions. So let's look at demo of some of the functions, include the new functions and enhancements in the data analytics software. Now for this, we are going to use a software called eCAAT. eCAAT is software which has been developed by the auditors for the auditors to audit any digital data. Now, if you look at the man years, we have to spend more than 25 man years in developing this audit software. What is eCAAT? eCAAT is, as I said, data analytics software. It's an add-in to MS Excel. So it has the ease of use of Excel, but it has the power of a database. It's available in two versions. One is eCAAT Enterprise, which has got primarily aimed from the CXOs. And then we have eCAAT Pro, which is primarily aimed for the CA community. Now, if you look at the overall difference between eCAAT Pro and eCAAT Enterprise, eCAAT Pro, you can curate, you can profile, analyze, investigate, relate, document sampling, enhance the power of Excel, and perform dynamic data analysis in a MS Excel. The same thing is possible in eCAAT Enterprise also, but you can also have a lot of curate functions and BA functions. If you look at overall, this gives you a summary of the difference between eCAAT Enterprise, which has been designed for data analytics and BI for enterprises and CXOs, and has more than 380 functions. And whereas eCAAT Pro gives you the top 120 functions from the eCAAT Enterprise and primarily focused on auditors. Now, this gives you a detailed comparison between the functions which are available in eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro. Let's say that totally I said there are 386 functions, and in eCAAT Pro there are 125 functions. This gives you from the perspective of the panels and the menus, and also gives you what are the benefit of this function. For example, curate panel, all the functions which are available in the curate panel in eCAAT Enterprise, there are 70 functions. All these are called as Excel enhancers or time savers. What you can do in Excel, you can do much more faster, and this will definitely save time for you. Similarly, there is a profiling, which is primarily used for data analytics and FI. In eCAAT Enterprise, there are 43 functions, whereas in eCAAT Pro, there are 20 functions. Similarly, you can do analysis or sampling, and which could be used for data analytics or FI, fraud investigation. So here in eCAAT Enterprise, there are 72 functions. In eCAAT Pro, there are 37 functions. So like that, you have a summary of all the functions. Let's look at the same comparison from another perspective. If you look at from the functional perspective, Excel enhancer or time saver, which enhances Excel and saves time. In eCAAT Enterprise, there are 182 functions, whereas in eCAAT Pro, there are 40 functions. Data analytics and FI, if you see here, which can be primarily useful for assurance, compliance, or fraud investigation, there are 160 functions in eCAAT Enterprise, and there are 66 functions in eCAAT Pro. So similarly, you got documentation and business intelligence. Now let's get into why should you use eCAAT. This gives you the summary of the benefits of eCAAT. You can definitely enhance your skills using the right tools. It definitely provides value for your time, because you'll be able to provide additional value by saving your time, and also provide more value for your clients, because you're going to do analysis of 100% of the data and provide better assurance with a greater assurance for yourself. And it helps you to be a thought leader. And when you save time, you know that it will accelerate your income earning capabilities. You can do much more in much less time. Just to give a simple example, recently I got an assignment for one of the clients who wanted to create that masters in Tally for about 26 branches. This is an NGO who wanted to create the Tally masters, which means they wanted to create all the masters in the ledgers in Tally. And manually, this had to be done for each of the branches. It would have taken about 10 to 20 hours. Now, using our data analytics software, we have one more software called as E2Tally Sort. We're able to finish the complete function of all the branches in about 25 hours. So you can just see the benefit. So it means when you are using data analytics, especially using eCAAT, we help you in applying thought to the technology. This summarizes how you can use data analytics. You have the knowledge and the skills. We provide the tools and techniques so that you can provide validation to your clients. Who are the users of eCAAT? Data analytics and use from three perspectives. One, by the auditors for asking the right questions, by fraud investigators to analyze and identify the possibilities of fraud, and by the management and the CXOs to see that they're able to take better decisions or make better decisions, and also analyze the data to get insights about what is happening in the business, and they can take decisions for the future. How to use eCAAT? Now this gives you a summary. After this, I'm going to get into the demo. So we have the business processes, the regulatory requirements, organized structure, all these are embedded inside technology. For example, if you want to know what are the segregation duties, what are the authorization powers are embedded in the software. Similarly, you want to, let's say the client has used a GST software or with the GST features. In that case, all the GST controls would be embedded inside the software. For example, what is the product, and for each product, what is the rate which is to be charged, that is available inside the technology. So you should be able to get this data, get access to the data, and do the analysis. These are the 7 steps for using eCAAT for data analytics. First, you get the data ready for data analytics. Like they say, an actor prepares. Similarly, a data analytics, when somebody is using data analytics, a data analytics also, analyst also prepares. How does it prepare? By actually curating the data and understanding how the functions can be used for performing data analysis. You make a copy of the files and perform analysis only on copy of the file. You perform harmonization of the data so that you get data in the right format. And then you document what are the fields which you want, what are the business rules and the controls which are available. And then you analyze the data. When you're doing the data analysis, you also remove the fields which are not required so that the data processing can be much more faster. The data analysis can be much more faster. You review the field formats and change it to the required format if required. Quite often when you get the data may not be in the required format. For example, you have date, the date has to be in the date format. The numeric data has to be in the numeric format. So you need to first check whether the data is in the correct format before doing the analysis. What are the features of eCAAT Pro? Like if you see here, in Excel, it's like a single knife, whereas eCAAT or data analytics software is like a multi-dimensional or a Swiss knife which got multiple features. You can perform BI and MIS on the fly. And to summarize, you can perform data analytics in a few clicks. I'll show you this. These are the panels of eCAAT. You have the curate, profile, analyze, investigate, document, utilities, and the tools. Now let me, before we go to the release, let me show you a quick overview. This is what the summary of all the discussion we had so far. You understand the business process controls, identify the criteria you want to evaluate, use the relevant tools and techniques, and analyze and report the value addition to the clients. So what is that you can do through data analytics? You can do more in less time using eCAAT. Now let me give you a specific demo before we go further. Now, when you're performing data analytics, it's important to remember it's not about the data that you have, it's about the data that you want. For example, you're doing GST audit, you are interested in knowing whether the correct rates of tax has been applied to all the sales which have taken place. So there may be thousands of transactions which have taken place. You are interested in applying your principles, the criteria, and checking whether the confirmation of the computation is correct. Why do you need data analytics in audit? They say the most expensive thing in the world is trust. It can take years to earn and just a few minutes, a few seconds to lose. When you use data analytics, you can provide assurance at the speed of the business using data analytics software. And this enables you to provide trust of the digital data, which is embedded inside technology. So you get a big picture through data analytics so that you can chart your roadmap to add value and be relevant. So before we come, let me go to the software and show you quickly. Let me pick up a few functions. Maybe in this 20 minutes, I'll show you, let's say about 10 functions. I've got this eCAAT. Now, if you see here, this is the eCAAT Enterprise. There's one more software called eCAAT Pro. Now, if you look at eCAAT Enterprise, now these are the panel. If you see here, I said we have got the curate panel, profile panel, analyze, investigate, documents, utilities, tools. These are the panels. In each of these, there are multiple functions. For example, if you look at curate, now let me show you a PDF file where you get an idea. Let's say now I'm going to eCAAT. If you look at the eCAAT Enterprise functions, this gives you a list of the functions. Now, if you see here, it runs to 25 pages. This is available online on our website. This gives you a list of all the functions which are available for each of the panels. Okay, so you got the panel, the menus, the functions, and it also gives you a brief description of what this function can do. Similarly, if you look at eCAAT Enterprise, now if you see here, this is about 9 pages. It's got 125 functions. This gives you a list of the functions which are available with a brief description, and it also gives you the type, whether it's a menu or a sub-menu or a panel. Okay, let me come now specifically to the function and show you a quick demo. For this, I'm going to use the test data. We have already stored some test data so that you can perform the analysis. Now, if you got any questions, you can put it in the chat box so that I can show you. Let me now come back to the software. Now I've got the sales data. This is the sales with the items. Now I come to the eCAAT enterprise. Okay, now let's say what is that I want to perform. Let's say you are aware of the pivot table. In pivot table, I can actually perform the analysis and get a summary of the data. The same thing I'm going to do in eCAAT. Let me show you quickly. I come to data. I have a function called classify. Now first it does a validation of what is the data available. Now I want to get this total as per the name of the dealer. I give the name of the dealer and I want the total of the sales amount. Okay, that's all. So you see, I have just done 2 clicks and I say okay. Now this should be able to give me, see now in a few seconds we got this complete data. What does it tell me? It gives me for each of the dealers what is the count and what is the sum. Now here you see the 2 blanks, which means there are 2 customers where I don't have the names at all. Let's say I want to see based on the count which dealer did the maximum number of transactions. I just do a single click here. Now based on this, I know Richard has done 28 transactions. Similarly, I want to do analysis based on the value. Just with a single click, I know Kavita has done 26 transactions with a total value of 37,01,500. Now here I want to do further analysis. I want to find out which are the customers who have got sales of more than, let's say, 10 lakhs. So I just go here, I enter 10 lakhs. Now you see here, dynamically it's actually computing. Now let's say give 20 lakhs. Okay, now you see these 2 lakhs. Now you see there are 81 customers who have done a total of 20 lakhs. Now let me just do this analysis. Let me pick up 25 lakhs. Now you see here, these are the customers with 25 lakhs. So it means I can do dynamic analysis, which will be difficult to do in Excel. Now same thing, now let me perform the same function once again. I want to do the analysis. And here, what I want to do is, I want to do the sales as per the dealer, and I want to see for each of the dealers, I'm going to pick up the same thing. I can pick up the unit sold also, and I want to do group by. I want to pick up the product type. Okay, I can also pick up the color like that. I can do multiple analysis, and I have to click OK. Now you see there are about 6,000 plus items of data. I should be able to get a complete summary for each of the dealers. What are the products the dealer has sold? So it means I'm able to get a complete summary of the sales. And now once I've got this data, now you see got the data result here. Now using this, now if you see here, there are 2 customers, which means these products which have been sold, the nameless customers. I've got this 1+8, we got this Samsung Galaxy. Now I got AB Gen. It tells me for this particular dealer AB Gen, what are the products which have been sold. For Aarti Meher, it tells me what are the products which have been sold. Now I want to just get analysis based on the product. I want to sort it based on the product. Now I just do a single click. It'll sort this data based on the product. Now you see for each of the products, I'll be able to get who has bought this product. Now I want to do analysis. I want to find out who are the people who have bought this, let's say Galaxy. Now if you see, dynamically it filter and tell me there are 984 customers, this items which are Galaxy. In this Galaxy, I want to pick up, let's say S10. Now you see here, dynamically I'm able to get this. Now tell me in Excel, is it possible and how easy it is to do this? Okay. Now this is how you can do the analysis and filter and pick up the data if you want. Now you've done the analysis, you want to save this in Excel, you just click here, Excel. Now this data will be captured and stored in Excel. Now let's assume this is the sales data pertaining to GST. I've got the product rate and the product tax rate, etc. I can do the filtering based on this and I can capture that information in a few clicks. So this what is the power of the data analytics software. This I showed you one function. Let me show you some more functions before you go further. Now, this I showed you is classify. What's happening in this case is actually capturing the data of the Excel for this 504 files and store this in, it will create a new file called in Excel and store this. Okay, let's close this. I think there was an issue here. Let me see what went wrong. Okay. Okay, I think I was a little, it was actually processing the background. I think I was a little in a big hurry. Now you see, we got this final 4 elements you got. This is the data which we already have. Okay, so it means from that particular sheet, we're able to get the data in Excel. Now I want to perform, let's say, one more function. You also have the guidelines, which tells you how to use this eCAAT functions. You also got FAQs, and we have the sample data for performing various functions. We also given the test data covering most of the functions. Now let's say curate functions. You want to perform any functions in curate, you can use the sample data. Now you also got curate to harmonize sales with items. Let me come back to this data. Now let's say I want to stratify the data, which means I want to create groups of data, stratify numeric. It will validate the column names and identifies columns. Now here, I want to stratify based on the sales amount. Okay, and here I pick up the total to amount. It tells me that the lowest is 20,000, maximum is 2,50,000, and the group which can be created is 23,000. I just accept it as it is. Now you see the beauty of the software, the power of the software. In a few clicks, now tell me if I'm doing Excel, will those be possible, and how easy it is to do in data analytics compared to Excel. In a few clicks, I've got the complete stratified data based on what I had given, parameters I had given. This tells me between 20,000 to 42,999, there are 744 items. Similarly, between 43,000 to 65,999, there are 546 items. Like that, it gives me the complete analysis. Now I want to see now which is the sum, which is the highest one. So I just do a single click. Now you see, I can sort this data on a single click. I know 1,81,000 to 20 lakh, 2,03,000, 1,81,000 to 2,03,999, the 933 items which constitute into the value, they constitute the highest. Now, if you look at in terms of the percentage of count, you find, okay, the strata 6, which is 1,35,000 to 1,57,999 are the one which have got the maximum value. So it means I'm able to stratify the data and get the result in a few clicks. Now let me perform one more function. I got this data. Now I want to summarize the data and pick up what are the unique values, which means I want to find out based on the unique values, what are the number of transactions which has happened. I'm just giving the concept, depending on the data you can analyze. I want to do this based on the sales amount, and I want to accumulate based on the sales amount. Okay, that's all. You see 2 clicks and I say, okay, now what should this give me? Now tell me whether this is possible in Excel. What is that I've done? I found out each unique value, and based on the unique value, I got the count and I've got the sum. Now, if I'm doing cash deposits or based on a particular amount, I have extracted all the cash balances, cash transactions based on this, let's say payments or receipt. For each unique amount, I'll be able to get the count and the sum. Now, if I'm doing, let's say, sales, now based on the type of transactions, I can decide which are the type of transactions which have happened the maximum number of times. For example, 25,000, how many times it's happened? 2,37,500 which happened. Not only that, now I want to see which are these 193 transactions. I just do a double click. Now you see, I can extract this information of this 193 transactions at one shot. Now, if I want this in Excel, I just click on Excel, I can get this information. Now let me pick up one more thing, which is an important thing. Let me come to the release notes. I want to show some of the latest functions which are there. Now this is the release notes. Every month we release this new version of the software. Now let's say we look at this version, which is the version of 2021 February 1. This is the release 1. Okay, these are the enhancement with profile statistics, column statistics. Now let me show you what is the new thing which has happened. We changed the radio button to checkbox so that the user can save as XLS file the computed column statistics of date, numeric, and character. Now let me come back to the data and show you how this is possible. I've got this data. Now I come to statistics. Now I have got something called column statistics. You remember I told you about the profiling of the data. Now earlier, I could compute statistics because this is a radio button. I could compute statistics for only one type of data. Let me perform only one. Then let's say I'm picking the sales amount and the unit amount. Now this gives you the complete types of analysis I can get at one shot. Now just see what are the power of the analytics software that I can get so many inferences, analysis of the data I can perform just in a few clicks. Now here I'm doing numeric analysis of two selected fields, and I should be able to get a good gold mine of the data at one glance. Now it tells me what the average of the positive records, what are the number of negative records, what is the average of all the records, number of negative records, number of positive records, number of nil value records, number of distinct records, sum of negative. Like this, I can get the complete value of all this. Not only that, if there's a computation which has been done, used, it will also tell me which are the cells which have got an inconsistent formula. Now I want this data in Excel. I just click on Excel, I can get this data. Now this for the date field, I'm not done any else for the date field, so nothing is available. Now let's say I perform the same function. I'll do the same thing now. This is what I want to show you. Now I come to this details and then I say column statistics. Now remember I said there are about 125 functions. This is what I told you. Column statistics, column properties, row properties. These are three places where we have made some changes in the new versions, enhancements. Here I'm going to select date and I've got character. Now here, let's say in the case of character, I have picked up based on the color. In the case of date, let me see, I've already got this. And numeric, I've got the data. So when I say, okay, now let's see what happens. It computes the statistics for whatever options are selected, and it displays all the statistics at one shot. Okay, now if you see here, I've got the numeric statistics. I've got the date statistics. At one glance, I'm able to get the cutoff concept, which means I know the earliest date is 1st April and the latest date is 31st March. I got the character field. It tells me for each of the type of the value, which is the lowest and the highest. Now here I did not select too many statistics. That's why I got this. You can go and select what statistics you want. Now I want this as a part of the audit record. I can just click on Excel view. This data will be stored and available to me in Excel file. So it means I'm able to get a complete profiling of the data at one glance. Now let's come to the release notes once again. Now, if you look at eCAAT Pro, this is what I said, column properties. Let me show you the column properties also quickly. Now I got the column properties. What does column property show me? Now, this you remember I said you need to get the data type right. So using this, you can get to know, for example, in this case, it tells me all the fields available. I'm not sure by default, how is Excel considering this? So I just ask it to load the properties. For each of the columns, it tells me this is the data type, date, this invoice number is numeric, this is character. Like that, it gives me, not only that, it gives me what are the total number of cells, what are the valid cells, what are the blank cells, and what are the distinct or unique cells. Okay. Now this earlier we did not have the option to save in Excel. Now with the option to save this in Excel, when I click on this Excel view, this should be able to give me in Excel. Okay, this is what I talked about. This is some of the new features we added. Let me show you some new functions. And now earlier in identify duplicates, we used to add zeros instead of blanks. Now we are just like considering that as blank. Now let's say we got this analyze duplicates, identify duplicates. Now here we added a new option called list of rows with unique serial number added for each of the rows. Not only that, you can group by the unique serial number. Let me show you, then you'll know what's the power of this function. I got this data. Let me close the file which I don't require. Yeah, now I got this data. I'm just using one for this one, sales with items only. What is that I was talking about? I was talking about duplicates. I come to identify duplicates. I want to identify duplicates in the invoice number. Okay, now I pick up the invoice number. Now you may say that duplicate is also possible in Office 365, but you find you can get the details, you can get the summary, you can also get the 3D reports. Okay, now I'm also going to say I can also find duplicates in duplicates. Okay, now I got this unique select all, which means I can also get exact duplicates. Then I say group by. Add unique serial number in duplicates. Okay, now I select the group by. Now see, this is a new function feature we added. Now see what will happen. It not only identifies the duplicate, for each of the duplicate, it also tells me what are the number of times the duplicate is occurred. Okay. Next, if you go to the next one, duplicate identification. Now for each of the duplicates, okay, it also has added a unique invoice sequence number. For example, let's say 1034, and this is identified only for the number of duplicates. Now, if you see here total, we got only 29 records. Now, this 1034 has occurred once, it has occurred second time. This 1454 has occurred once and has occurred second time. Like that, it tells you. Not only that, unique group by, it also tells you how many times this invoice number has been repeated. Okay, this is a new feature which we added in identify duplicates, so that you can know what not only what are the number of duplicates, how many times the duplicate has occurred. Now we also added a validation to remove empty columns or rows while opening the form, so that it's easier to perform the data analysis. Now we also got a function display list of internal external links in the current worksheet can be removed. Let me pick up a sample data here. Let's say I got this expense April. Or let me pick up one more thing. Here we have one more sales transaction. Let's say I pick up this April sales. I'll take another 5 minutes. Now I got this data. Now if you see here, this doesn't have any hyperlink. Okay, this does have a hyperlink. Let's see whether hyperlink is available. How do you know hyperlink is available? Now if you see here, there's a hyperlink available. Now I don't want the hyperlinks. This is where you can use, let's say I've got this function called delete external or hyperlinks. Now you see at one glance, it has picked up there are 54 records which have got hyperlinks. And I say remove all hyperlinks. Do you want to remove the hyperlinks? Yes. Now you see all the hyperlinks are removed. We also added some new functions, which I thought I'll also show you here. Now if you see here, there are totally about 660 functions, rows. Now we have added a new function here called as in workbooks. Now in templates, I got something called validate email IDs. Now this is so many email IDs are there. I want to know whether this email ID is valid. So I just go and select validate email ID, and I say I want validate invalid and validate domains. And I say I also want the domain summary. Now just see what happens in this case. Now you may be having a list of email IDs. You don't know many times when you send emails, how many emails bounce because the email is not valid. Now here, you'll check online for each of the email IDs, whether the email is valid based on the domain name. And it also groups based on the domain, and it tells you how many emails are valid, how many emails are invalid. Now you see at one glance we got, these are the complete number of the domains. What are the total domains? So you know how many users are using which email ID. You can also see if there are any errors here. You also find there are certain errors here. Now if you come to the valid email IDs, now you find it also tells you which are the email IDs which are valid. So in this case, all the email IDs are valid. So that's why you're getting all valid email IDs. Not only that, you can also extract, suppose I've got this email IDs, I want to extract only the email IDs from here. I can go to the workbook function and say extract email IDs. Validate email ID. Similarly, you can validate domain. We've got one more function where you can extract the email IDs. Validate email ID is there. Let's see where we have. So I'm not sure about where it is. So in that case, if I'm not able to find this, we also got a simpler option. I just go to eCAAT search and run. Now here I say mail. Now this tells me this is a function called extract email IDs. I just click on this. Now it opens that particular form. Okay, now here I want to extract all the email IDs. Now if I just give this, now from this particular sheet, I'm extracting all the email IDs. Now, for example, here if you see all the rows have got email IDs, I'm able to extract this. Now there are about say 2000 data and only 20 have got emails, or the email is stuck somewhere in between. Wherever the email ID is, it will be able to extract this particular data. Okay, now let's come back again to the release notes. We also got some new function where you can combine. For example, you got something called combine or split workbooks, multiple workbooks, and combine split multiple workbooks. This is the last thing I want to show you. Now, where is the data for this? Let us pick up the sample data for this. I got this, let's say, this expense April to June. Now I've got these three sheets, expense April, May, and June. Now I want to split this in separate workbooks. Okay, so this is a new feature we added here. I go to eCAAT Enterprise, go to workbooks, and say split as multiple workbooks. Now for each of this, it will be split and a new workbook will be created. I select the path where I want this. Let's say I want it in a desktop. I say okay, and then I say okay. Now what will happen is it will read all the worksheets one by one, and it will create the workbook for each of the sheets. For example, there are places where I got this payroll. This could also work in the reverse way. For example, I got the payroll files for 12 months, or I got payroll workbook with about 12 months of payroll. I would like to organize this in separate workbooks because I want to do different analysis for each of them. I'll be able to do this at one shot. I'll be able to do. Similarly, in the reverse way, I can also split the workbook into. I got this multiple workbooks. I can also split this. Let me go and check what has been created. Now I've come to desktop. Expense April. I think it is actually created dynamically. See, for each of the this one workbook has been created. So I got expense April. Similarly, I got all this expense April, May. Now I've got this separate thing. I have combined as one. Now I've got this three. I would like to combine as one worksheet. So in that case, what I can also do is I can just go to workbook and I say combine this is one book. This is already available in one workbook, so there is no meaning in doing this. Actually, I need to open three workbooks with through separate files, and then I can combine this as one workbook. This is what is possible. Okay, like that. If you look at the overall summary, so there are hundreds of functions which are available. Like I said, there are about 380 functions which are available in eCAAT Enterprise, and there are about 125 functions which are available in eCAAT Pro. Now, if you go to the website, we have a complete list of all the functions which are available. And this I just gave you a quick glimpse of what are the options which are available. Now, if you see here in utilities, we have got this new function, combine or split as multiple workbooks, split selected worksheet from active workbook into multiple workbooks with a single worksheet. Similarly, when you say combine multiple workbooks, combine the selected worksheet from selected workbooks into new workbook. The release notes will give you a brief description of what are the features of this particular release. Now, in this case, if you see the combine split is what I showed you. We also keep resolving whatever bugs we identified. I also showed you the validate email, a validate domain. Okay. Now, let me just show you one quick thing. Now, we also have got, let's say, all the activities have been performed. There will be a log. Now, if you go to the log, I look at the activities log. This will give me a complete list of all the functions which are performed. And this can also be retained as a part of the audit documentation. Not only that, now if I come back to the log, I also got Excel log, which will tell me what are the functions which are performed on Excel itself. And I can go to any particular file and I can open the location of that particular file or open that file itself. Now, similarly, you got rerun. Now, if you look at the beauty of the rerun, all the functions which are performed is captured along with the parameters. This is a new feature we added. It tells you what are the parameters, what did I perform. It also gives me the usage statistics of the functions which are performed. Now, I also got something like auto rerun. Now, what are functions are performed? I can just double click and re-perform the function here. For example, I did classify here. If you see, I just double click. If I have the file open, this will be performed. Similarly, I got auto rerun. So here in auto rerun, I can select what are the functions which are performed, and all this will be performed at one shot. Okay, so this is how I have given an overview of what is possible in data analytics software. Okay, if you got any questions, I'll take the questions. This recording of this would be made available. So I think this would be useful for those who have not attended it. Because this is the first presentation of 2021. I've given a brief introduction of data analytics. In the next presentation,